back here just doing another team meeting. So we're going to jump on and just hop on today and talk through some shaping projects we're doing to shape up some of the agentic workflows we have. So this is going to be just a chat with our team. I'll bring everybody on if they want to be on here. And I just to open it up, like just to open up, like the symphony came out like a few days ago, a few hours, and I watched this video and I sent it to our team last night, and not everybody had a chance to watch it because it was like 11 o'clock at night. So we'll watch it real quick right now, and just want to see what you guys think of it, and then we'll talk about some stuff. So let me share this. Make sure I don't totally blow up everything. So this was from Ryan Carson. If you guys saw this tweet, he shared this thing about symphonies. I just thought this would be fun to watch.
Hey everybody, I've got the new symphony orchestration set up with Codex, and it's amazing. So I want to show you this. So here is the TUI. So you can see symphony is running. It's got 5 agents running concurrently. Throughput's 40,000 tokens per second. This particular run has been up running 5 minutes, about 8 million tokens in so far. This is the project that it's running. So Symphony is connected into Linear. So let me just show you that in case you don't know what I'm talking about.
He's running on a 50-inch Dell monitor,
a
if anybody
spec,
wants to know.
basically, the OpenAI released called Symphony. And it essentially turns your repo into a code factory. Now you have to do some work here to get it working, but it was pretty plug and play. So you get that running, you boot it up, and you can see that it's working right now on 5 different issues in Linear. So here's Codex running, little sneak behind the scenes. So I've got, I switched to work trees just because it's kind of built this here. Okay, so this is Linear. This is in the default view. You could also view this as a board if you want. I'll go super big just so you can see for a second. So you've got, this is the Symphony project. So you've got backlog, you've got to do, you've got in progress, rework, human review. So this one is ready for me to look at. Merging is, so what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll review this, and then I'll drag it over to merging, and then it automatically uses a skill called land, which helps merge the PR. And then you can see done. So that's kind of cranking. And let's go back to the list view. So one is currently merging. It's actually, this was a task with 20 subtasks or issues.
Cool. Okay, I think you guys get the idea. So let me share this. Sorry. So hopefully you guys could hear that. So pretty cool. A couple things that I thought were like wild with it was just like the ability to kind of, I mean, we've seen some of these before. This one is just very simple. The Symphony is obviously, it's coming from OpenAI, and we have a number of tools. Like this is kind of the sweet spot would be to move now, like from like, I told someone recently, like we're going from like me working to like me using AI as a resource. Like, let me look this thing up and it gets me an answer and I come back to my coding. Then it's like, now I'm working with, agents, and it's like kind of coding alongside me. And then then it was just like, hey, we're just prompting it to do various things. Sort of the next layer up is like now orchestrating like multiple parallel agents at once to do multiple tasks. Because like you can't sit there in the terminal or whatever interface you're using and then like prompt the next thing and fix this and do this. Now it's like, go work on all this stuff and then come back and I will just review it and make sure it's good. There we go. So we'll like, I was curious. He has a few, if you guys want to follow his link here in the chat for the team, but just look him up. He has some content today, but one of the this morning was like he woke up and he had like a bunch of stuff working last night, and then when he woke up this morning, it had found a new bug that was not part of the original scope, and it created its own ticket in linear, and then it moved it into the backlog. So he like basically he was like, oh, this is like the first version of AGI now. Like it's like kind of finding stuff on its own and logging its own bug. So it's interesting. I think there's like a lot of different with looking at the AO orchestrator. I think maybe that potentially. Have you messed with that? That looked one you were using when I saw it.
Yeah, it's actually uh, it's that's funny because right now one thing I've been thinking a lot is like how much of my time should be dedicated to like creating tools that orchestrates agents or like tools adjacent to agents, because like everyone is looking at it this now. But basically what I was building was a structure where I can handle and delegate work more easily to those agents, and especially like how to add the necessary context to do it. And this in Symfony, in a way, it's pretty much some of this. But what I've been thinking a lot, like to be honest, I think the real value right now is to taking those open source things, taking all those tools that are being launched, and doing what we are trying to do, which is basically, okay, how do we fit this into our workflow so we become that agent native team that the Geoffrey Humphrey talks about, where you are actually a team of people that are specialists in managing agents and make sure that agents work. Because in the end, it's coding. Like the agent breaks, and you have to basically debug the agent, and you go and see the sessions and two calls, and it's pretty much the same thing. And I think right now a bunch of different tools are spawning to make it easier for you see uh, to see what the agents are doing. I was also testing mission control. Doesn't know? Do you guys
Yeah,
ever heard?
I started playing with mission control too.
Very
And
cool. Like it loads up all dot codecs or dot clouds from your local files and show them in a nice dashboard, like all the agents or the sessions. It's very interesting.
yeah, that's good.
Hmm.
And I think like this is just something to be experimenting with. Like, so one, I just wanted to like talk about that today. Like, just it's cool. It's out. Like, we should figure out how to. There's another Gennaro that wants to join. Oh,
Oh, and
your screen.
I was
Yeah,
going to
yeah, yeah.
quick show what it does. Like
Yeah,
scans are all open sessions and all history, basically because all this is stored in your machine, so it takes all this data and shows you on a nice dashboard, and you can see like memory for the agents, the skills and stuff. This one doesn't see all my items because I'm running it on a closed environment, but I'm seeing it for test. Like I created this one where basically it's a codex agent, and it shows here, but it's like it's a local. It's just a MD file in my computer. It's a tool to see it better. Let's say it's interesting.
can you drop the link to that one?
Yeah, sure.
We have we'll get a good list of links going. But yeah, one like just experimenting. I know Gennaro, you've spent a lot of time experimenting with a lot of these different ones. The confusing thing is they're all starting to do the same thing, which is when you get into the AI, like everybody's like, oh, OpenClaw started, then there was like tons of forks of OpenClaw. Now there's like, a lot of versions of Symfony, and then I saw Perplexity Computer out as well. So there was like a web browser version of that. Um, and I had a friend who went deep into Perplexity Computer, and he was running his whole business on it, and then basically maxed it out in like 3 days of his like the highest plan of whatever he like maxed it out. And so it was then going to be like a few $1,000s a month to keep it going at that rate. So he basically found something else. But they just they just released like a local version of that, which kind of like change, it kind of runs in your toolbar to do various tasks, and it's just it's getting towards this thing. I talked, I can't remember if it was with you guys, someone, but there's a great podcast from Darkesh and Elon Musk on all the future of agentic things. So it's like 3 hours long. I do recommend checking it out because it's very technical. It's the co-founder Stripe, and a engineer. So they stayed very technical on a lot of it. And so generally where all this is going is like what can a computer do, or like how would I work with someone? Like I'm kind of working with you guys, like where my entire interaction is like assigning tasks or talking in Slack, or maybe there's kind of conversation back and forth. Like how can we get it to where like you can do everything that you could do like through the interface of a computer? That's kind of where it needs to get to for these like sort of virtual employees, these agentic like employees. Um, and then of course the next step is then like bringing it into like a robot and actually interacting with the real world. So that's like the next piece. But before we get there, it has to be like basically as efficient as if you hired an employee like in another country and you just worked like remotely with that person. It should be able to do everything that that person's doing. And so that's just an interesting thought. And there's a lot of cool nuggets in there as far as like the future and where that's all going to go, and like the fact that there's a very small chance that any of this AI will be able to control. Like if we're building something so much smarter and more powerful, and there's so many more age AI intelligence versus like human intelligence, like why would we have a chance at controlling that? It's really good. You'll feel really positive and uplifted from the it kind of like ends in a pretty depressing state, but um the say like bringing it back here is like now we're trying to figure out like how do we take a lot of this work, which you again kind of being like almost like the manager role, like it was you managing like one employee, like here junior developer, like do this, then he like does something, you're like do it this way, now do it that way, like you're just kind of like over their shoulder micromanaging this one poor employee. Now it's kind of like backing up a little bit, and they're getting a little bit more reliable to where you can have multiple running in parallel and having it kind of chop up things. And I think specifically for like, I think as it applies to us, like reactive work specifically, I think would be massive. Although the span of a reactive task could be everything from like a bug to like a minor feature request to like something that really should be a project that somehow landed in reactive. So we have to kind of like filter through these different
Yeah.
lenses. But I think uh, just saying, just keep experimenting with stuff, and like officially for our team as well. Like I know we said, get the max plan, get whatever. Like I'll I was thinking like we should each just have like $200 a month to just spend on whatever AI experimentation you want. So just like have $200 and just like set it on fire, and don't even think about it. But I mean, don't do that. But like basically just don't overthink it. Like because for such this is a crazy time in history where like for so little money, like so ridiculously small amount of money, you could 5x, 10x your output. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we'll figure that out admin wise. But like I think like I would talk to another founder and they're like, oh my gosh, like it like the AI subscriptions are taking over our business like all the SaaS subscriptions used to do. And I was like, great, like get everybody a credit card and just let them go crazy with it. Like if one person figures out one workflow that saves the company a ton of time, like great, like go hack it and test stuff, and as long as we're still using it, right? So that's how I would yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts so far on it. Like just keep experimenting with it. I've wasted a lot of time, well not wasted, I'd say like researched a lot of spent a lot of research time on OpenClaw, and went down a bad rabbit hole trying to make it super secure, didn't work out very well. Now I'm back like trying some other things. But I think I'm going to try to, my next experiment was to kind of experiment with the orchestration components a little bit. And one thing we landed on, so one thing I do want to do as a team is like just go back to framing and some breadboarding on a good next step for what's something we know we could build right now, because there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of like rabbit holes of like things we can go and experiment with and play with. And that's where I got lost. I was like, oh cool, I got OpenClaw set up and all this stuff, and like, what do I even want this thing to do? Like, like I kind of like have built a robot, and then I don't actually need a robot. I just built it because it was cool. So kind of starting a little bit with like, okay, let's take a real workflow. Like, let's go to like, how would we go and attack like reactive work, or how would we attack like the something else in the team, like something that's a little more concrete. So we chatted yesterday with Lucian Janata a little bit about a plan to kind of like what we could do for the team, and really it came down to like an Lenovo CLI or CLI, as Janata says, and then we would have a way that you guys could interact. I also saw Perplexity, the founder of Perplexity, was basically telling people like MCPs are dead. They're super slow. I saw Peter Levels tweet the same thing this morning. So immediately I was like, well, forget MCPs. Let's delete that. Like those are gone, dead to us. MCPs were so last week. Those were so like February 2026. So, um, but yeah, we can. What was that?
So 2000 and late.
Yeah, 2000 late. But so having something where it kind of gives us all the flexibility to experiment with stuff, and then, but you're gonna need this like, because there's like, you need some hard data or data we can interact with on the like so I think having a CLI or something that can talk directly to the APIs, because the Novo dashboard is built on APIs, so all of that stuff is accessible. We could figure out a way to uh, prep that so it's like very easy for LLM to process where everything is in the structure. But that's kind of one thing. So we're going to move to that in a minute. But first, isn't it? I know you're going to say something about the orchestration structure, maybe. And you're muted. Sorry, I muted you because your dog.
You removed my power to talk. I just said
starts barking, then my dog's gonna start barking down here. So
it's a symphony. I say something I found this morning in those lines of like everything now needs to be a CLI, and maybe we can use this tool to turn the dashboard into a CLI. It's basically a tool to scan the repository and expose the API and expose whatever you need to be exposed as a CLI. It's the idea CLI, all the things. Yeah, yeah, no, that's I'm now experimenting with Obsidian for my personal notes because because of their CLI. It's so good. Like and also like I think it's more agent oriented because now everything on agents is just an MD file, and the Obsidian files are just an MD file. So I feel it's more closer to what the language the agent is talking.
yeah.
And God, like, is that I love
we're
it.
like, yeah, we're deeply integrated with Notion, so I see like an end to that at some point. Like we'll we'll figure that out. But at some point, it's not going to make sense to have it all.
And the incentive for Notion is to not allow you to, like, they allow you to export your data, but the incentive for them at this point is to create the closed as much closed ecosystem as possible. So
yeah.
I don't know if that's good for us, especially us that we know how to create our own software, which is it's cool. Like we can create something like the dashboard very personalized, so that's fun.
Yeah, for sure. So I think always going back, because we like in true form, like, okay, sounds awesome, now what? Like and how did that happen? Cool. Are you hitting that, or is that me? Give us a thumbs up.
I've gathered you here to tell you about
doing that.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
Anyway, I'll leave it there. Maybe it's like, okay, let's see if it jumps. So just coming back to our good old trusty process here of like a little bit of a frame of like, if we were going to go do the next batch of work, like where would we want to land on like, what are the actual problems here? I started this just before the call, but obviously we're currently experimenting with like we're all experimenting stuff, but we're having to recreate a lot of connections in and out of Lenovo. And so I think one of the things, eventually what I was seeing is like there's some sort of like data hub, or some sort of, and I'm not going to a solution of like, well, it is definitely a CLI or it's definitely MCP, but the idea would be that you could feed your whatever agentic workflow orchestration system like in like dynamic data that's in a controlled way, and it's logged. Like that was the other thing I was going to say, is that like all access and changes are logged, so we could say like this, we can kind of blame Janata's AO like orchestrator or whatever, for a task. Like we could say, oh, this thing changed on this date or whatever. I do think like we don't currently have like tasks are not a part, or I'll need to be specific. Notion tasks are not part of the Innova Dash like right now. I'm gonna drop the link just so you guys have it in case you want to jump in.
Nice.
But like the so we don't have we're not part of the dashboard yet, but we do have like sort of the task grid idea, but it doesn't really, that might work. I think what I'm seeing work really well with the linear approach, and don't worry, we're not gonna like switch to linear, tomorrow. Which I was like, oh, we're forget Notion, we're all in on linear now, like, but is kind of the same thing as kind of how Notion works. There's like a task level, like here's the headline of the task, and when you click into it, there's like there's a whole lot of detail in there, and that's what we're gonna have to make this work. Like a task grid's not gonna work for an LLM because it just is one sentence, and really to me it's a scratch pad of like ideas. Like I need to do this thing, do that thing, whatever. It's not like it's not breaking down like what the actual issue is and referencing files and like giving a lot of context. Because I think part of it would be having, we talked about yesterday, was like, can we have tasks come in and then send it off to an agent to go properly shape it up and get detail. It's not, I would say shape it up, but just to define it more, to get clarity, to make it more concrete. Like users are saying button doesn't work, I hit the button, it breaks, something crashes, whatever. Can we send that off with like, and it's like, oh, it's on this screen on this thing, yeah, when you hit this, it's missing a whatever argument, something, and then it gets it more specific, and you can look and be like, yep, that makes sense, fire that off it goes. And then you just, when you get to the review state, can you click on it, view it, make sure it's good. But it's the time in between, like letting that thing go sit for, a while. And even it's not so much like, oh, well, that one's going to take 5 to 10 minutes to go fix and come back, and then I'll do the next task. It's that like, you actually don't care when this happens. Like I'm just going to queue up like a bunch of work for my Thursday, fire it off it goes. And then like you're gonna get like at some point it will alert me that I'm back in review process, and I'll just come back and then I'll like pick it up again. Versus like kind of being in this like single thread. It's like having a single core CPU. Like you're just able to do this one thing and like advance the next thing in like a very linear approach. But this would let you go like multi-thread essentially to have a lot of different things going. And I have seen in the like when you set Symphony up, it is really, as far as I can see, like set up for a specific app or specific project. I believe like you actually install Symphony like in the repo. And so like you kind of set that up, let's say for like Tribe just by itself. And then again, it would be kind of sort of like Tribe, Flutter. Maybe we can find it, like put them in one, directory with both repos, that, however that works. But we would need to like, so that's one approach. Just kind of setting up on like a project level. But anything else you guys are like thinking as far as this could work? And like, I'll start with the bad part out bounds area here.
Um,
Well, are there any natural, I guess, guardrails or stage gates where you don't want them to do something, I guess,
But this,
without being sequentially approved? Like something with billing or sending invoices or something like that.
that would be on like sort of the workflow piece. I'm thinking there's like a hub of data, just that like concrete factual data that like there is a client and its client's name is this. there's a project, the project name is this. There's like these tasks for this project here with details. You know, if there's more information about those, we give it like a nice interface to like get me tasks, get me like, hey, I want to work on this project. It fetches like a couple tasks. You work on, you know, go through some, shape them up or whatever, and then fire them off. What I don't want to do is I want to kind of keep it like workflow and agent agnostic, so that like Janata can try something and Lucian can try something and I can try something and Greg try, like we all try our own little spin on it and see what works. Because I don't want to necessarily like lock in on like, oh, it has to be these 7 steps, and then, you know, because I don't know if we're there yet. I don't think we're there yet to like sort of hard code the workflow yet. Whoever made the context, thank you for keeping me honest. It's not a problem. It's just a thing. It's just a fact.
One question, is this initial version, are we thinking about it read-only, or it allow the agent to also update the data back to the system?
No, I think it needs to update too. So you can say that like, yeah, I would say read and, you know, write.
And my suggestion, okay, I'll change that.
I'll just change it up here, read and up here. Yeah. This one is like
logs.
It's and we could do this actually. Let's just be really prescriptive here. Because you don't really, you're reading client data. You're gonna like read and write task. We'll just say projects.
And projects are the framing and task grid, right? And also like metadata, like when it starts, when it ends, right?
Yeah, and I think like having like basically reading everything, the framing, the task grid, also the whatever Notion task, because when we say project, the project in the dashboard is the same project as Notion, so they're one and the same. It just there happens to be like it's stored in the database. Okay. So like I'm gonna do the same thing.
Like one-to-one, like Supabase Notion, basically properties.
Exactly. Actually, if you go down here, you can. I'll make this just for context, but there's like, we'll call it Notion projects, and they have an ID, and this just links like that. And this would be like, you know, name.
And how this is getting synced today? It's a cron job,
like
or
every 5 minutes it syncs. Yeah, it's pretty okay. It stays pretty in sync, and it does a 2-way. It merges everything 2-way. That seems to be. It's on an edge function right now.
I'll just add this for context right here. Cron job syncs.
So and I would say the source of truth is the dashboard. Okay. Like if I deleted our Notion account, technically I could like dump everything back in, like set up all the projects again. Not fully true. Like we have a lot of other information in Notion, but like from a project task standpoint, like the projects are backed up.
Maybe that would be an outcome. Like we make sure that
source of truth of projects, that's the current state. Source of truth of projects is in
a context. Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe that could be an outcome. You know, the source of truth of tasks is in the dashboard.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think that would, I mean, it's probably like a morning or something like that, so we can make it work.
Yeah, I'll say it's the new source of truth for tasks, because I think like the way that Notion works, it's like we're syncing the project database right now. I just literally have to like, it'll take me 15 minutes to like also sync the task database, because all the relationship fields and how it's all linked and all that is already in there. Okay, question: does a task in Notion? How does a task of where were the questions? Oh, did someone delete that?
Oh, sorry, I deleted.
I'll leave it out here as a sticky because I like. Does a task in Notion equal a task in a slice or task grid?
I think ideally they would be one-to-one. I think like
But
if
then
we are going
how
to
do we
take
organize
I,
them?
I would fall back to like the problem because I feel it's not crispy enough yet. It's like
perfect.
it's
Yeah.
pretty good though. Like many small reactive tasks is just like a lot of load, and I really like the thing of like
And like
we would
and
uh,
sorry, please continue.
like we can consider that like we've tackled this problem if we have somehow the ability to like queue up a bunch of things and kind of like break the dependency of like one to one. Like I'm watching a task, I can just say like, oh, I want this done, like fire off, I'll come back and review a batch, you know.
Mhm.
So
Perfect. And
if we focus in on like just this like problem and solution, then task grid is kind of not.
irrelevant.
We could decide like projects or it's just a reactive project problem.
Yeah.
We could drill into it more.
And to be honest, I don't know about you guys, but for me, if I'm using task grid, usually Notion just becomes a backfill. Like I do it after, like just for the tracking purpose. Like I do everything on the
Well, that's
task
like that should be a problem right now. Like
grid.
the fact that you even have to do that is kind of silly. Like that's
Yeah,
unnecessary.
I
Like,
usually just keep on the Notion for like tracking purpose, but because yeah, I feel because I think like it's a bit slower to move on the Notion structure. So I usually like just have the tasks and I just go like how I'm doing it now is basically I copy the task grid and then I break it down into markdown files for the implementation, and then I have the agent running it, and I just have like AMD file that's basically a representation of the task grid on my local repo and update it locally. And when I finish my session, I just go to the task grid and I update it there. Um, so in this workflow, you see, I didn't have to touch the Notion tasks itself. So yeah, because I also that's something we may need to question about our process, like how much do we need Notion tasks if we have the task grid now? Like I don't know if I'm questioning too much, but like do you really need the Notion tasks at this point? How you guys are using it?
Yeah, I wanna chime in on this because to me they're like fundamentally totally different. Like task
okay.
grid is fantastic tool to get like a map. You know, I'm building like this thing. There's like this slice and like I make progress in the slice. And I use a lot the tasks in Notion for taking notes. You know, I do deep research on something
Nice.
or you
Yeah.
know.
The fact
So
that
mhm.
they have like a layer deeper, right? Like you're actually this is like great if you just want to sketch out like quick thoughts that you want. But like I think what you're doing is they're like what also we may be able to do is if we click into like this should just be the title of a task and we click into it, it does have like maybe there's a Notion icon next to it and you could open it in Notion.
Oh,
And
that would be perfect.
yeah,
Perfect.
because if we like the same way we go up here and we click Notion for the project level, we should be able to like click on the task level and go to a Notion task. Because that what I could do is I could like create. And then if I need to go deeper, I can tap on it. And there's already a Notion task that exists. So all it would do is open it up. And then I can also go into the project level and I could look at my, well, this one doesn't actually, oh, here it is. This one has like whatever projects are here. We could actually these would be one and the same. So like you could, if you want to look at it through this way, like and have these different statuses, that's still accurate. But you could kind of see it here. The only difference is we probably have to have like a catch all like Notion no slice associated box, right? If we
Mm.
created that.
There's I want to
In
kind of like drive further on this because to me like the bigger pain point to me they're very distinct. The way I work on the project and the way I work on reactive is like totally different worlds.
that's
And if if we focus just on like reactive because like you working in the task grid is like yes, I can take like more notes on a specific task, but essentially it's like sequentially, you know, first task and the next task has to happen. Some parallelization may happen, but then reactive is like almost 100%, like they're just unrelated. I just like can fire them all off separately. So I think if we my worry is that if we just get kind of carried away to like connect task grid with like Notion tasks and AI agents, we'll create like more work than like we could have focused on just like a more specific problem, which is like reactive tasks are just like too many small things.
Mhm.
And then we would kind of cut out a bunch of like problems to solve for with just that tighter frame.
But
Maybe
yeah,
maybe if we focus on reactive, and I think that's a good a good decision for us to just like talk reactive. Maybe we don't need to worry about like the source of truth. We can remove it, or we can make it so that reactive project is a different type of project on our dashboard. And then instead of using the task grid module, we just show a Kanban module, which would show the one-to-one of the tasks in Notion. And then this is kind of solved for
yeah.
the reactive structure, because that's true. Like reactive is just like this line of work. It's really Kanban style. Like you have everything you have to do, and usually you can execute a lot of stuff in parallel.
But like we, ironically, the statuses for projects are the statuses for tasks right now. I think I think
Nice.
they're exactly matched. So like we could, I think I'm with you. Like we could actually task grid is a tool, like Ryan gave us as a good tool for the job. Like if it depends on the right project. If you're like in a new feature build, you're sketching out a bunch of ideas. But I do agree, Lucian. Like we may have a ticket come through as a reactive task that's kind of like this thing that has to move through the system. So it's kind of like it's a mini project, but it's kind of in the wrapper of a project because we have to have something to bill and track time and clients and all that too. So it's like a child project of another project. That's what is beautiful about Notion is you can just kind of keep going in this like as deep as you want. So if you started making like notes and sub pages and all kinds of stuff, that's great for Notion to just go crazy with all your research and notes. Um, but I think what we need now and I do think that that layer of depth to it is 100% needed for anything agent. Like we're gonna have to load up all the research, and then even when it comes and proposes its plan, it's got to put it somewhere. So it's got to go into a thing. It's like can't just right now like so maybe like one of the I don't know if this is a problem or a context, but just like right now, like tasks, what we call task in the dashboard are basically just like a single line, text note or something. It's like there's no page or depth to it at all.
Mhm.
And so that's I put in the problem status because it is something that's blocking us right now to come to the outcome of being able to use this for agentic workflow. And so what we could do is like I put under here, if you're good with this, like no changes to the task grid, just focus on Notion tasks. And I'll just say Notion tasks sync. So right now we will end up with, from a data standpoint, we have tasks. And I'll just say like if there's no task ID, a slice ID, then it just won't be in the right. Because this could have like a Notion task ID here.
Yeah. And the slice could be a property, like if we want, like a new Notion property on tasks, if we want to make this tracking.
Oh, the other way, go Notion back to the. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
like if we want to have that task on Notion associated with a specific slice, we could just add a slice property on Notion and basically use the same name, or because then would kind of just for
Yeah,
we want
that,
to.
we could add that later on. I just want to because that's
Yeah. We just
you're
said no
really
task.
like we're kind of in sync. Like what I was thinking about is exactly that. Like our structure of like the columns. I think like a couple like some years ago or like months ago we had like discussions about naming like proper naming the column, and I think we really have like good columns for the process. So like inbox is like something like client complained or and like shaping is like, okay, we decided that we should do something about it, so let's research like what is even this thing, what are the steps to reproduce, and then move to like dev ready, like the problem is clear and we can just go and like fix it. And that lends itself well to like an automation thing. We can just like move it to shaping.
Mhm.
An agent picks it up, like does the investigation, moves it to dev ready,
Yeah.
and
I
I mean
I think
that's kind of like tight enough,
yeah.
but also like that's will open like a lot of things, because like we need to give like the agent like independent access to like read logs, read like DigitalOcean metrics, like did the server crash or whatever, like click through the app. So it's kind of like there's a lot that could be done just on like that small thing.
I would say like I think there's a good hard line, like a wall to build here on the out of bounds. Is like just like the task grid is good for us for now. I think we're all looking at it like from an architectural standpoint. You're like, yeah, but there's tasks in a slice and there's tasks in a Kanban board. Like tasks are tasks. So yes, let's totally merge it later. And like I could see a version where we like start because you may also have this thing where you like are in a project. And I would grab just a random one here. And we have a bunch of tasks like and you're like, oh, actually, I want to go deeper into this, and maybe like I click into this and I can actually pull up the Notion page that's associated with this down the road. I don't think it needs to be a now thing, but like that way it kind of gives you could use whatever tool you want, and you're not feeling like what I don't want to do is end up with like a question of like, do I use the task grid or do I use the Kanban board? Like because they go like you're down two different paths, and I like the idea of it. Like I could start task grid and then move it into like a different thing if I need to. But I think all we have to think of right now is like let's just leave that off the table because it's safe to say that like this is super not useful to an agent right now because it's like this just has like random thoughts of and it's us all like whoever the developer is like this really only means something to Janata who's building this
Yeah.
particular like I don't even know what this necessarily would be like this just says and not all of these are just some of them are like admin tasks some of them are like get this thing fix that button it's just enough information for us to remind ourselves and to not miss something when we're having a conversation with a client we can just quickly throw them on the board so I think it's a great tool. Again, just I think for this, we're actually wanting to go very deep on each task because each task is going to be like a thing that the agent works on and needs a lot of information. And then even if we only give it a little information, it needs a place to put lots of information and a good plan. So I'm good. I'm good with that for now. And we'll just scope it to a different project. We also have to make a lot of design decisions. I think Lucien is what you're saying is like, do we go like and even then Janata was like well let's make like a way for us to like add slices in Notion and then so I specifically said like no accessing task grid in Notion because I did think about that when I was building it and it kind of goes down like it's a weird thing that doesn't quite match like the way that if you have because you can label a slice anything so just keeping them tracked so they don't have like certain slices aren't showing up in the wrong projects and tasks anyway I think that's good. Is there anything else problem-wise we should think of? We
I think we nailed it.
We haven't
Yeah.
put our.
One interesting problem to add is about like no, actually that's good. It's probably for another shaping the what I was going to say. This is good.
I'm just curious what it is anyway. We don't have
So
to.
it was about like because one of the content that we have, like one of the pieces of data that we have in our system is the communication with the client, like the reports, everything they send, their complaints about what we did, and it's all linked on different channels. And but I think that would be a different project because what we need probably is something to first kind of grab everything and everything like organize it on the same place, and then we need probably some layer of a agent that would help us filter this out and then create tasks that would be executed
Yeah.
in agentic flow, but that would be like a separate piece of the
Yeah.
workflow, I imagine.
One. Okay. Yes. I agree. So maybe like client communication. like with Slack and email and all of that will leave
Yeah,
off.
and just I don't mean like agent answering customer. I just mean
No,
like
just context building,
Yeah.
like building the context. Yeah, but so one thing that we can do though is all of the comments are synced from Notion back to the dashboard. So we actually do have like every single comment is in a comment database. So worst case, like you could screenshot the Slack
And just
message, you could copy paste the message, and what's cool is it actually creates over here like a thread, right, of like everything that's being said
if
in
I
from
send
Notion.
if I send an image, it will
It
start.
should show the image. Yeah, let me find like
Nice, that's perfect.
it even shows the video. If you show like a Loom video, it like puts a little player in there.
Nice,
Um,
that's so cool.
But you would need to extract, the text. But if an LLM ran into an image, it would know what to do with the image.
Yeah, I have a local util that basically it's like a extractor of content, and for video it does like every 5 seconds screenshots and adds transcription, so like the model knows when I send a video like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a video about this feature and does this
I do.
kind of transcription.
The other thing that came up yesterday was like we don't really have like, I'll just say like an LLM friendly like
Knowledge base.
knowledge base or a context of a like particular project. So it could be cool if over here we could have a way to like add resources to a client level. That's the trick. It's not a project level.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be at the client level. It's
It would be the equivalent of an area in the para methodology. It's something
Sure.
that we don't have an end in mind, like client can stay us with hopefully forever. And
just a little parenthesis, this kind of like in solution space, maybe not the solution for this, or maybe it is, but like area is like you could have like credentials and also like executors, like agent that reads logs,
nice.
and you can like manage access. Like let's say Janai, you're working on X Tech and like no one else is, so maybe you have like the API key to Innovo that knows that you're working on X Tech and you see etc. everything.
Great.
You're not like admin, so you don't see billing, and that's it. So
Perfect.
that would be part of like area, in my mind, like the agents like that read logs or whatever.
Nice, that's cool. So probably yeah, I mean like this does already have in the dashboard probably the CLI or I mean we are literally talking solution now, but I mean the CLI probably will need some form of logging or some stuff, right? Like, so it knows like I am the user that's
Yes.
accessing this data.
We know it's Janata. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That's nice. That will leave us space for doing some very cool stuff.
So let's ask the source here. Let's get some good questions. Who feels this pain the most? It's us. Everyone on the team.
Yeah.
Everyone. Let's just do two. Why do you even give me like?
Yeah, I mean this is one thing about
estimates mean nothing to us.
Yeah, like
AI. Okay, so what's the why now? What changed recently? Team is actively building agents now, and each person is reinventing the wheel. I think that's good.
Yeah,
Task management breaking the shallow task grid and Notion disconnect is causing. That's not really a problem.
I think the problem's first one.
When you say read and write to Notion tasks is the core. Let me make this bigger for you guys. Is the core. When you say read and write is needs an API that agents can call, or is it that about improving what humans see in the dashboard UI? I think it's just the MCP.
Yeah, calling agents.
And actually, and I mean, like, doesn't even need to be an MCP, like, but
yeah, I'll just say API and dashboard agents need access, and the dashboard needs to show, because I think
show richer tasks.
Yeah, because you'll need to see the tasks being done.
I don't know. I don't think dashboard really matters because we're just focusing on reactive, right? So it's just about moving them forward.
Yes, the cool magic trick I want though, Lucian, is I want to wake up and I want to like have this board like we saw in the video where like there's like all the columns and I'm dragging. I'm like, look at all my agents working. Because what could happen is like, here's what's crazy is like Janata could be like jumping in and doing some tasks in there. Either we sign like his 2 or 3 agents are working on one part of it. I could be working on 2 or 3 other tasks, but like we'd all have kind of a live view of like where all these things are going because that central hub. And that way it's not like we're locked into his way or my way. It just lets us like experiment.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Also, it's probably also because we have the Kanban board built and it's already linked to Notion. So like when you drag things around in the Kanban, it updates the status in Notion. We can easily have that just duplicate it for the task level.
We can create I think probably the best solution would be a hook, like a harnesses hook that would connect to Codex or to the Cloud. But the idea that is that when you pick up a task with that agent, like when you say, "Oh, I'm working on this," like then it would update that task with your user, but also maybe identifier for the agent, like maybe the session ID or like anything that we could identify the agent locally, because then I can go back and see like, okay, I worked on this task, and this could even be like an array of sessions. Like every time I connected to this task with a agent, we track the session that we are using, because then I can use it to debug it locally. Like, okay, I worked on this in this session, and I can go there and see. It's a
Could be
small,
like a metadata field, or
yeah,
you have
something
like a minimal structure, but like flexible structure, I think would be better. It's like have everyone be able to get the data
perfect.
they need.
So we have like this agent metadata of like history of the test, and we can use it freely. Because I think like the next step would be for this, like the next maybe would be to have a VPS where you can basically, and from our CLI, we can decide, hey, I will work on this on my local machine, or I will work on this on the VPS. And
Yeah.
when you send to the VPS, it's basically all of them reports to the same dashboard, meaning they will update and report the same
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
just like the mission control does.
Yeah.
But you can choose between running locally or on the Innovo VPS. And we have this one place with all the security checks and everything that we can kind of send our agents to work together. But we can also work locally if we want to.
I think it's cool. I mean, yeah, I think if we focus on this little like hub part and the data in and out problem, that's what's probably the bottleneck. Because then, like, you could try, like I said, you could do so many variations of this, and it doesn't. We have to reinvent we have to rebuild this central hub. You know, we're always going to have projects. We're always going to have tasks. We're always going to have clients. So like that interchange is going to be fine. I just want to point out how smart Claude is. Like, hey, would you like me to write this to the dashboard for you? So it said, but let's go back to the plan here. It said, we're experiencing the AI agents. Meanwhile, task grid is a single line to give some of the context here. AI agents can't access no data without, oops, sorry, I shouldn't double click. There's no audit trail, no depth to it, context switching over at the team juggles between Notion dashboard and various agents, sure. We're actively adopting different workflows. Okay, so the team members can plug into project and task data with their own agentic without building custom integrations. It's agent agnostic. The dashboard can source of truth for tasks, and that's synced with Notion. All read and writes by humans or AI agents are logged with attribution, so you can see who or what changed for each task. Projects have an LLM friendly knowledge base, framing docs, tasks. We already have some of that. But yeah, there's additional resources. This would be at the client level. I don't think it would be at the project level. But maybe they could. I guess they could have resources attached either. Yeah, I'm going to ignore the scope. We're not standardizing stuff. We're not changing the task grid. We're not messing with task grid and Notion. We're not dealing with communication. We'll deal with Notion comments, though. We'll include that. We didn't really list that up here in the outcomes. Did we say that? I think we missed that there's task and the comment chat needs to be part of the context. No Notion writebacks for task grid. That's fine. No user interface for AI. Yeah, this is just going to be like there. Anything else?
The one thing I want to like kind of elicit a bit more crispiness, because it's like a bit blurry between like two problems. One is like managing knowledge and like the context for tasks, and the other is like the bottleneck of having like multiple tasks all at once. And some of them are like, for example, if like we want to tackle like the problem of bottlenecks, then we got to do like the maybe a hosted VPS that like takes multiple tasks or like a part of the task lifecycle, just investigation, for example. Or if like the problem we want to tackle is like more knowledge management and like allowing your local thing to talk to like the task, that's like slightly different solution space. Does that make sense?
Totally. I think probably the second part, I think, is in my view, would be is the one that we need to focus first, like on organizing the data and making it accessible to our local workflows, because then we will use it and we will find the best ways to use it, and then we can probably like streamline this into a shared space in a VPS, for instance, in a set of Claude or Codex agents that are always on, and you can just say, okay, spawn this agent, which would basically start a Claude session with that agent context loaded on the VPS, and then you pick a task and you start a run. And what that would do is you pick the task from our knowledge base, and the run is basically what we see in a single terminal window. Is like the whole stream of work and all the tool callings that would represent a run on our server. And I think that's kind of, it's not a complicated structure to build. I think, like, to be honest, probably we just need a script where when you spawn a agent, it creates its own workspace, it has its own safe credentials, so it can't like merge to the branch or anything like that. We can create this safe setup. It can even like be its own container, like inside the VPS. And
that's a good question. Like, are we? We almost need like a skill or a file that all agents will need to have context of, like, where stuff is. Every time I post something, please leave a comment when work is like. Do we need something where it's like as if we're training the employee handbook of like, hey, all these army of agents that are about to show up, like, we have standards. Like, when you change this, you need to leave a comment in Notion, or if you do this, like, make that, like, when I don't know, just to make sure that we're getting stuff in and out. Like, it doesn't start working on the task and forget to change the status. Like, it needs to know some of the rules. So
the best way I know to force this is to do something like they are doing with this GitHub. You should try this. It's very interesting. It has comments to like map your code base and has specific sequences of commands that it follows. So if we can do something like, we can start with a slash framing, and it will call automatically the slash shaping when we finish, and then it will start working on it on parallel. Like, we can make chain calls of commands and workflows that are running on the harnesses and you can. I think this one is just for Cloud Code, or I don't know if it's updated for Codex already, but it making one for Codex, just like translating to the API that Codex use. So it's very, you basically place your harness on a guardrail, like on a specific flow that it has always to follow. So we can adopt, like, oh, if I'm working on a Innovo project, then we will be using the Innovo GSD, which would follow our workflow and hook by the end, where it always updates on the dashboard. Like, that's what we can do. Like, it will always update, it will always fetch from there, it will know where things is.
But is it Where does it
sorry.
pull it? Like, where is it stored? Is it stored in the dashboard and it pulls it down?
No, it
Like,
creates all locally. When you run the command, when you install this tool, it creates like on the dot. It sets up your .cloud locally, so you can
where does it
see
get
our
it
local
from?
file.
Is it getting it from the? It's got to have somewhere it's pulling it from centrally. For
It's
us,
a
like,
I think it's a node package. Like when you
okay,
install it, like it's all
into the dashboard.
configurable.
So we put it on our dashboard.
No, I mean this. I'm this one, this get shit done one. It's all it doesn't it's all self-contained. So all the when you run the node command to install this, it will install all the sequence of commands and everything on your cloud files. So it's basically a
Okay.
way of placing it on
Well,
Rails. We can have this in our dashboard for our solution if you want. But
well,
in
that's the
their
thing.
case,
We need a place where we can like adjust that slightly, just so that we're all picking from the same. I mean, because I think what you're saying is like this is a good framework to like that standardizes it, but we may want to just like tweak it so there's some rules
yeah, we
specifically
need
for
our
us.
own version of it. Like
Yes,
that's what I mean. That
yeah,
this is just a reference of how we can implement this in a way that our agents, like our Innovo agents, will always know how to use the Innovo tools. This can be done in a simpler way using like just Claude.md or agents.md and a set of rules and stuff. But I think this tool is a lot more, you place more strictly, you have to follow it, the model has to follow it more closely.
Mhm.
It's more
Yeah, like we could have like a
controlled.
Novo framer, like framing piece, and a Novo
Exactly.
like tribe
Exactly.
debugger, and a Novo like transcoder debugger. Like, you know, we could have specific
Yeah.
things that could be shared across projects.
And it's very easy to install because you just install at the project level. So it doesn't mess with all your Claude setup. It just installs at that project. So it creates a .claude at the project level. And inside that project has all the setup with you need, with all the agents, with all the workflows, with all the
So would we
commands.
put
And
this on the
we
repo
would
level?
just, I'm understanding it's just committed at the project level, because we're not managing like hundreds. We have like, you know, we might get like a new custom client every like few months, and then we just like kind of copy the
Is it
good like skills, you know.
it goes to the
Exactly.
repo, right? It's going to the like the
It would be at
tribe
the
version
repo
repo.
level.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you now. But I
And
was
I think that
wondering
makes sense. But
if like if
I
we have a
want
command
to
line
bring some.
interface, we should have
I
some sort
want
of
to step
rule,
back
right?
to something else.
Sure, go for it.
I agree. Like, Janelle, you answered like question that I was wondering, like, you know, do we do kind of parallelization or knowledge management? And I think knowledge management makes a lot of sense because it's like the foundation. Also, that could be like an outcome. It's a foundation for us to like have our VPS that like intelligently does stuff. But like for this project, it would be easy to get carried away. So like, how would we know that we're done? You know, like where would we kind of say like, oh yes, we like solved the knowledge management agent connection piece?
In
We could
my
write an outcome would be like you could basically kick off a session, pull down all the context for a particular task or something, or in my flow would be like you pull up like a few tasks and like, you know, have it maybe process it to like plan those tasks, and then you could fire off or execute them or whatever. I don't know if I want to like to prescribe the flow too much, but I would say like I don't have to go to Notion and then the dashboard and then like something in Slack. Like ideally, we're kind of the habit change behavior here would have us to have to be like keeping a lot of notes in Notion comments, which we kind of do already. But like if we wanted to weigh in on stuff or copy a bunch of text, we could just paste it into the Notion comments for more context. But that's how I would think this is done when like Lucian can spin up a terminal and like pull down a task, work on it, and kick it back in a very simple model. Now you could then go in agent mode with like 3 or 4 of these things running at the same time, or like Janna is saying, like I have something that's running on my VPS. This is running locally. This is running wherever. That's how I would kind of see this as being Then yeah,
I like that. That now becomes like extremely sharp because we're kind of like shifting like you do like everything that you're doing and you keep developing your own workflow, but just the only connection, you don't have to go to Notion anymore. You can just like tell your agent
yeah,
like
but
do the
not
investigation
yeah,
yourself and then write back like automatically.
but it's not whatever Janata's drawing. So I'm curious what he's drawing because
Uh,
the Notion project and tasks would be like underneath the dashboard. But what are
yeah,
you
yeah,
thinking?
yeah. Like they are basically, yeah, it access the same information, but like it's like this. So
But then the question becomes like, why not just like Notion MCP?
directly, yeah, that's what I'm like. What are we gaining from this extra layer, right? What are we integrating to this CLI to make it easier to?
Notion doesn't actually work. What I've seen, like it's not very fast for one, like getting data in and out.
That's
And
true.
and the MCP is not great. I think because one thing, if you can go through the dashboard, we can link in those client knowledge stuff. We could link in like general things about the task, like time tracking. We could link, it could have different questions or context comments. I mean, you'd have comments in the Notion part, but I also, if we're building something kind of the future, I'd love the idea of it not being totally locked in on Notion. I do think we're going to outgrow Notion at some point with this. At some point, we'll be writing projects and tasks directly to the Supabase dashboard and just working at it there. We may not need the Notion view. I
I
am
like the
using Notion.
flexibility that gives us. We can be tool agnostic then.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to like be like scared of it and not use it, but we could. Yeah, I mean, the only other thing, like if you want to sort of draw it, there is that happening, but there's toggles in here,
Nice.
and there's also we also have like Mercury and like all the payment information as well, so you can kind of see. Like it'd be cool. You could actually ask it like, like how much am I going to make this month?
That's cool.
Or you can, no, that's going to be a problem because it may not be. Like I'm going to go and like ask the ask what.
Yeah, because like I can. It's difficult because like I can ask how much Lucian will make this month.
Well,
Like,
it won't because technically you'll have your own token, so we would know who it is. So it wouldn't be quite that hard, but
yeah, but then the security, the access level of this clip
well,
starts a
the
little
next
bit.
thing in the future, though, this is where it's going to get powerful. Is then in the future we would add Slack. In the future we would add like email. That's where the magic will
Nice.
start to happen. So yeah, because it's kind of simple. Yeah, right now we could just totally
And
in
in
and
the
out of
future,
Notion.
even like agents and workflows would be shared like here. Would be shared like
True. Like I
or
could see. Yeah.
not
Yeah, you
not
can
like
see.
agents. I'm running like agents templates, let's say that you can use, but like they are shared between the team.
Or
Exactly.
eventually even like runtime, like an
Yeah,
agent is running. It's like Innova owned, Innova's VPS.
I just want
Yeah.
one screen where it's like a group of all Luchin's bots running and Janata's and like everybody's like, it'd be like,
That's yeah.
there's
We are
30
so
agents running right
close.
now.
Yesterday, I was able to make this working like it now knows where when I have a diamond running on my machine and I can just like do a slash local or slash remote, and it will decide whether it will run the task on my local or my remote. So and I was like, man, that's so cool. We literally can in a couple months probably like really make that thing where we can have this dashboard and can be even animated with my agent going to the Lucian agent and like handling some stuff, and we can be like watching.
It's awesome.
Good. That's funny.
Great. Cool. I know we ran over time, so this is good though. I know we kind of went down this yesterday on the call, and then it was good to kind of close it up and have something framed. But yeah, let's keep working on it. I think this is exciting times. I just what I wanted to do is make sure I was starting to set up some of the stuff to make it all sync, but I didn't want us to all do it. It sounds like just like we're one missing piece away, which is this Notion task issue. And then the other thing that, again, with Notion, like I think with the database would be good is having that crazy active, like detailed activity log of like Luchin's like terminal on this thing on this date, changed this project, did this thing, committed these files to the repo. I think the other thing we're out of scope here is there's no connection between the Novo dashboard and the repo. Like you're just going to have to tell the agent, like, this is the repo we're working on. I think like some of those things I think are a little like gray area we didn't really talk about, but those are things I'm assuming if we didn't talk about it, it's not on the list. So sweet.
Nice.
Awesome, guys. Sweet. All right, guys. Well, have a good Thursday. We'll see you soon.
Good stuff.
Thanks.